Morning, everybody.
Morning.
How's everybody? Good, good. Everybody watched the Chiefs game?
Yes.
Yep. It wasn't pretty, but 5-0 is still 5-0, so we'll take it. So, well, on to more important things. So, we're going to talk a little bit about the great game of business and kind of why we play it and kind of what our story is. When I first started with Greene County, I heard about the great game, but I thought, well, this doesn't really impact me much. And then when I started at the auditor's office, I got more involved with Great Game, and I thought, well, we do a lot here with it, but I wonder really why we do it. I mean, is it just kind of one of those things that somebody said this is a good idea, and so we just kind of do it, or it's because it's, one of those things that somebody said, well, we've always done it. How does it really impact us? And so I've kind of been learning more and more about it, and I got the opportunity to attend the Great Game Conference in Arlington earlier in September, and it was really pretty interesting because there were folks there that were from all over the U.S. I mean, lots of folks here from our region, obviously, with SRC being in Springfield, but there were folks all over the country, Florida, Texas, all over the place, and in fact, really worldwide. I sat in sessions with folks that were from Australia, Switzerland. Where was the tea company from? Was that Singapore, I think?
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka. So, I mean, really, this thing stretches kind of worldwide. And we got to see folks that, were just starting out in great game or maybe just thinking about it, all the way to places that have been here like us, for many years practicing it and hearing their stories and how they implemented the great game and kind of what it meant to them was really pretty interesting. And everybody does it a little bit different. The core concepts are the same, but how it's tweaked kind of to their business model or to their organization is all different. And that kind of made me really start thinking a lot about our, adventure in the great game. And it's really as you start to listen to the sessions and things, you realize it's really kind of baked into what we do and who we are. Um, and I really got to see that as I started thinking about my original time at Juvenile when I first thought, well, why do we do great game? It doesn't impact us on the line level, employee level, but it does because when we had the economic turndown, I never realized my paycheck was in danger because I didn't have to. The folks in charge were making the bills, and folks at my level didn't have to worry about it. Every Thursday, those checks were coming in. And that was kind of the result of the high level planning that was being done to position the county to be in a good spot to, mitigate and weather that storm. And I think it really showed again with the pandemic, right? Because when the pandemic hit, nobody knows what's going to happen, but we already had planning in place for those type of times, and everybody was able to come together and kind of figure out how to weather that storm, which is really what you do in business. You got the downturns and the difficult times, and a business has to be able to be agile and to move around to survive, and that's really what we do. So one of the things that was really interesting on the flip side of that was everybody kept talking to Cindy and I, going, "How do you all do this in government?" We were the only government there, to my knowledge. It was really interesting to kind of tell our story because really I was able to say, if you think about it, government should run as a business. We should be frugal with our tax dollars, and companies have to be careful where they spend their dollars. We don't have a profit per se, but we have to really watch those revenues and kind of control that as much as we can, those and monitor those monies coming in. So it was a really good conference, really kind of opened my eyes to a lot of how much we benefit from Great Game. And so we want to share some of that with you guys. Whenever we were preparing to go to the conference, Cindy was invited to talk on the big stage and do kind of a OBMX open book management talk. And so as we were preparing and trying to kind of get ready for that, Cindy and I were like, how does it impact our employees? And so we reached out to some of our employees, our office holders, coworkers, citizens, and said, tell us about your experience with Greene County. What's open book management mean to you? And so we interviewed some of your coworkers and office holders, and we're going to share that with you in a video today so you can see kind of some of that input. And then it's going to transition over into, yes, we have a co-star with us. And then it's going to transition over to Cindy's open book management talk. And I will say that was really impressive. I would have been incredibly nervous. She was not, even though there was about 1,500 people out there. So I was really proud of her. She represented Greene County very, very well. And I think you guys are going to get to see that. And then after that, we'll hand the floor over to Cindy to kind of close things up. Okay.
It was big even before I came to Greene County because I'd heard about it. Of course, I knew about Jack and the great game and all of the other successful things he had done. But then I learned that Greene County had kind of taken this and adapted it and really run with it. And of course, at the state, in the legislature, we were always trying to come up with ways to be more accountable to the public. Well, we hadn't even thought of this. And so I knew it was a big deal. But then when I got to the county, I realized how impactful it really was because it really sets the stage for a much more effective budgeting process. And it's, the employees that are dealing with this stuff day in and day out know more about the county operations than three commissioners or even the other office holders and department heads when you've got essentially 1,300 people between the 1,000 at the county, and then we have state employees, and we have to disperse funds for their operations after the court order is given. So it really helps in how effective it was at making the budget process more driven by the user, more effective, and actually more accurate. Implementation at Greene County has been very good. We do of course, the huddle, and on occasion, we've had a citizen or two come to that. We do record those, and they're open. And then when we did the next step with the transparency portal, that really solved a lot of problems too, because if people had questions, instead of taking staff time to go dig and research, we just showed them the portal and they could sort through it and see everything. It's like handing somebody your checkbook, it's total open book management.
How does an accounting office implement the great game? Accountants, I've found, are perfectionists. And one of the things that I notice is that my staff would be very hard on themselves whenever they would make mistakes. And they'd have to correct those with journal entries or send out revised receipts. And it was very discouraging. And I wanted my folks to be able to focus on the positives, the 200 transactions they're doing correctly rather than the one mistake that they made last week. So what we did was we created a game, very similar to what you would do in a factory or maybe on a job site if you were trying to improve safety. Just a little game to say, like you'd have how many days without incident or how many days without injury. So you know how many days we had without errors. And the staff was, very pleased to see that 60 days, 82 days, 117 days, they would hit these milestones of days without errors. And of course, there were little rewards tied to those things along the way. If they're not spending their time doing journal entries to correct mistakes, well then they ought to get that extra 15 minutes or half hour off or something. Anyway, it was really good, and I know their mini games are supposed to go away after 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, but staff never wanted to stop playing. So here we are years later, and we're still playing the game.
With open book management, I think the biggest thing that we utilize it for is during budget season for us, and with what the budget office puts on and continuously updates on our website, that allows us to go in in real time see where we stand as a county and with income and expenditures, and allows us to more effectively forecast where we need to be as we go into the budget season. You couple that with our Tuesday huddles that our staff logs into, our huddle newsletter that comes out, that keeps us on track and just in the know of what's going on with all of our county offices on a continuous basis, and allows us to, again, more accurately forecast what our budget should be and where it needs to be as we go into a new budget year.
I did love the Academy for many, many reasons. I just really was engaged. I felt like it was great information as far as open books, getting your skin in the game, being more connected with the whole goal in general, and just everybody being on the same board. I mean, that says volumes or speaks volumes, I believe, because of just the ability to hear something and put it to action as a team. And you can get so much further as a team than you can one-on-one. And so it really was just something I solidly believe in and encourage. And I have always thought that. And whenever I heard those things being taught in this, I was just super excited.
One of the things that brought me to the county was the fact that I felt there was longevity here, that there was a career, an opportunity working for the county. Now that I'm here, I see that a lot of that is true. A lot of staff have longevity here. They have wonderful benefits. The county, I guess, is able to provide wonderful benefits for the staff. And I just enjoy being around the people. The people here are just very friendly and very upbeat, nice place to work.
Hello, my name is Carolyn Chestnut. I'm a retired lawyer, and I live in Greene County, Missouri. I'm fortunate enough to live in Missouri. I love this state. I retired here 3 years ago, and I have become very impressed with the county government here. They have a transparency portal on their website which lays out the whole budget, and the entire budget document is available. And I've been looking at that, and I'm not a computer expert, but it's very user-friendly, and it's just been fascinating to see how open they are and how much their budget makes sense. I've been looking at the charts showing percentages in the millions of dollars of where some of the money goes, and the first place it goes is for public safety. I was really impressed with that. All I know about was county roads. And so it goes first to public safety, then to general government, which I've realized is very effective here in Greene County. And then the third place was to county roads, and then others beyond that. But it just it increased my respect for and my trust in the county commissioners, that they would be willing to put all of the budget up on their website. And when a relative of mine tells me that all politicians are corrupt, I tell them, go look at the county website at the transparency portal. There's no corruption there. So it's made me feel a lot better about paying my taxes here in Greene County. And it's made me feel like I'm really making an investment in the county.
Yesterday, I mentioned before we had our OBMX talk that 5 years ago, Jack, Stack, and Darren Dahl put out the book, Change the Game, Saving the American Dream by Closing the Gap Between the Haves and Have-Nots, and featured a host of different case studies of the reasons why you should do it. And one of the features was Greene County, Missouri, a government. And we're going to be introducing Cindy Stein here in just a moment. I just want to say this, that in all the years that I've known Cindy, first of all, you need to know she's an elected official. How would you like to be elected to your job every few years? Tell me that wouldn't suck. It's like, how can I even do my job when I'm worried about, will I have the job? And also, I'm sure I could never be elected to public office. So what I wanted to say is that what Cindy has taught me is that you can do this anywhere, and that it can be transformative to people's life anywhere, and that you can have fun doing almost any work. And the most important thing I've learned about the whole thing about government that I didn't know for my entire life before I met Cindy was she taught me that government is actually made up of humans.
Oh, go figure. And she is one of the best of them.
I thought that was hilarious this morning. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Cue the laugh track.
please welcome our friend, Cindy Stein. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning, great gamers. Wow, we've got great gamers in the room. How exciting. Thank you, Steve, for that introduction. As you know, as Steve said, I'm Cindy Stein, and yes, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help you. Thank you. I want to start with the beginning. I want to tell you our why. And I want to tell you what I learned yesterday, our because. Okay? And our story is not too unlike what David Moore shared yesterday regarding the Paul Mueller Company. Greene County was struggling to overcome the conditions of the economic downturn of 2008 and 2009. Greene County was really struggling. We were struggling to a point where we had $2,000 in the bank and our payroll was $1 million every other week. If that doesn't take your breath away, if that doesn't say, okay, how are we going to get to the next payroll? How are we going to survive? What can we do to serve our community? I don't know what does. It was quite an awakening. And the county administrator at that time, along with myself and a few other team members, thought, you know, we're educated, we're fairly bright folks. Why can't we solve this problem? Why can't we figure it out? Well, you know, if you do the same thing you've always done, you're going to get the same results, right? Well, that's where we were stuck. Now, the county administrator and I remembered having Jack Stack visit our campus and talk to our leadership about this thing called open book management and great game of business. And we all leaned in and we all nodded. And then as soon as Jack left the room, we looked at each other and said, that will never work in government. Now, how many of you have experienced that? That will never work here. Yeah. Well, when the county administrator and I determined that we weren't figuring it out ourselves, we reached out to Jack again and we said, Jack, we're willing to try. Can you help us? And Jack, as only Jack can, he knows it can happen. He's going to put everything he can to make sure it happens. And he sent us an angel. And that angel was Rhonda Chapman. And Rhonda didn't know a whole lot about government. We knew about government, but we didn't know how to transition to this open book management thing. So we learned together. We figured out there might be an adaptation that might have to occur. We figured out we might have to adjust some things. We figured out the cadence might be different. The financial information might be different. But we did it together, hand in hand. And it was really revolutionary to see the success. And within a year's time, we had recovered our cash balance solely on the practice of the great game. And it became so powerful to our team. Not only had we recovered from our cash deficiencies and where we were, we also learned something very valuable in the process. We learned that everyone has a contribution. And when I say that, in true government fashion, when we would do our projecting and our budget, well, we're going to spend our budget, aren't we? Yeah, because if we don't spend our budget, we'll lose it, right? You've heard that about government. So everybody was projecting their budget. And we were still playing the game, but that wasn't quite hitting the cylinder correctly. And so, although we recovered our cash balance, we still weren't in a position to give salary enhancements, raises, and et cetera. Until that AHA huddle, where everyone had projected their spending was going to be to budget. And that particular huddle, that morning, I presented the financials, and where they actually came in and where they projected were vastly different. And had they projected more accurately, they would have been in a position to give themselves their own raise. Okay? So the air kind of went out of the room. Everybody realized if we're projecting accurately, we give the decision makers the power then to have the finances available for the upcoming year to provide the raises that we're so desirous of. So take that out through the next year, and the projections were so accurate and so competitive amongst departments that they were in hundreds of a percent of hitting their target, which is pretty unrealistically. I mean, they got really good. Now, I'd like to fast forward a little bit to our second really struggling time, and that happened in March of 2020. Many of you know what happened in March of 2020. And the local government was in the same boat as all the businesses and organizations around the world. And in great game fashion, we decided, well, we need to meet, we need to do some immediate planning, and we need to see where we are. So I kind of went into the meeting really thinking the worst. This pandemic is going to cripple not only our community, but it's going to cripple our organization in a way that may not be recoverable. So I went in thinking the very worst. I was really thinking the very worst. But because we've been practicing the game since 2012, everybody that joined that meeting knew they had a piece of that solution because they've been practicing the game now for several years. They didn't have to be told to bring a solution. They all came prepared. And I was anticipating that we would probably lose our major revenue source, which for our jurisdiction was sales tax. I was anticipating maybe a 30 to 40% decline. Okay? When we came out of the meeting, we actually got to a projection of about 7 or 8% decline. Okay, that's doable. That we can manage. So how did we go from my thought of 30% down to 7 or 8? Well, we all looked at the industry segments, and you all are a part of those industry segments. And so we started with the basics. Okay, the restaurants are closing. So we're going to lose all that sales tax revenue from restaurants. But what's going to happen in its place? Everybody's eating at home, so what happened to your grocery bill? You bought groceries instead of going out to eat, right? Okay? And so there was other areas of our community, the traveling community stopped, really. So what grew in its place? Well, those outdoor adventurous, those things that you do outside on your own. I mean, people just shifted, okay? And guess what? We were all at home. So what were we doing? We were going to our local home improvement shop, and we were doing all those honeydews. because we're at home. So the revenue from those pockets that increased balanced out with those pockets that decreased. And it was so gratifying to me that without the game, we would have been in that same devastating position we were in 2009 following the economic downturn. And I too get emotional about that because I believe with all my heart that Great Game saved our community. Great Game saved our organization. I just don't know where we'd be without it. And I couldn't be more honest in that assessment. And that morning in March of 2020 when we met and everyone came to the table with something, I'm like, yeah, that's why this works. Because it's constant planning. We don't have to be told to plan. It's in our nature now. And it was just immediately such gratification. And as Steve mentioned, we're independently elected officials and there's 13 of us. So we answer to the public, but we don't necessarily answer to each other. But we come together and we work together, and it's pretty unique in government. One of the things that I really want to stress with you all is, like Steve mentioned, it really can happen anywhere. It really can. When I look at other government agencies and I look at even inside our own agency, and I realize that we've been able to practice open book management for an extended period of time. We've been able to open our books such that if you're interested in Greene County finances, you go to our website. Our entire checkbook is out there. You know what checks we wrote last night or yesterday. So you can immediately see where the revenue comes in, where the expenses go out. You have full access to our books. And it's really gratifying to be able to say that our team was able to do that. I really can't thank Jack enough, and Rhonda and Steve for bringing us on this journey. It's changed our life. And I want to end with this very simple thought. If it can happen in government, can it not truly happen anywhere? Ask yourself that. If it can happen in government, can it not happen anywhere? And why isn't it? What part of it do you play? What part of it are you contributing to? Everyone is part of the solution. Thank you very much. Back and went, did I just say that? Can I pull those words back? I've told that story probably 200 times. And on a stage of 1,500 people with the lights in my face, I misspeak. We had 2 million in the bank, and our payroll was 1 million every other payroll. Jess and I was shocked when I played it back and went, I really didn't just say that, did I? I talked to my team about whether we should show the video because of that. And the team felt that really the message was still very clear regardless of that. So thank you for acknowledging that mistake. We're running out of time, but I want to do a couple of things really quickly here. Great Game promotes servant leadership. We've all seen it. Thank you for participating in the video. I know that's uncomfortable to watch yourself, but thank you for participating and for your participation in Leadership Academy. That creates these servant leaderships. And there's no better example than what I want to show you next in a member that Steve mentioned in the video for the TED Talk was Darren Dahl. He was the co-author with Jack Stack in Get in the Game, and they also dedicated an entire chapter to Greene County. Okay, so I'd like to prepare this video for you to watch that was recorded last week by the Weather Channel.
This is day 6 for us after this disaster, and I think it took all of us by surprise. You lose cell phone, you lose power, you lose water, and you're sort of like, what's happening? Some of us are just volunteers from the community that have come and helped get the community water.
Go to anybody with their hands up, and they will fill you up.
It's been wild. I live by the river, luckily just above where the water reached, but we're like cut off from town. Luckily we had one of those water dispensers, so we have some empty 5-gallon jugs.
Folks have been showing up with all kinds of containers. We were just knocking them out left and right. It's been awesome.
Asheville's a pretty cool town, and I hear a lot of stories of support. I've been to several restaurants who are, feeding people if they are needing food. I had not seen any news footage, any of the, tragedies. It's just really hard to understand that and wrap your head around it, so it's going to be a while.
There is something about being in Asheville. We're a great community. People look out for each other, and you're seeing it here today.
Yet, but they're giving back to their community. That's what great gamers do. They give back. And this past year, incidentally, our theme for our huddles has been giving back. We've had 10 nonprofit organizations come and talk to us about what they do, how we can help. And it's just a coincidence. That was our theme for our huddles this year, was giving back. Greene County gives back. We are getting ready to start planning for the 2025 year. If any of you are interested in being a part of that planning process, of planning for what 2025 looked like, I know we've got a volunteer already in the room. Please contact me, because Greene County does give back. Thank you so much for attending today.